What happens when your younger colleague, someone you mentored and trusted, suddenly becomes the architect of your professional destruction? Theron Conyngham never saw it coming. At 45, he was the marketing director at Pinnacle Solutions, a position he'd held for 14 years. He'd built the company's client base from scratch, nurtured relationships that generated millions in revenue, and trained countless junior employees. But none of that mattered to Viggo Eidinger, the 32-year-old operations manager who'd just been promoted to regional director. "Your methods are outdated, Theron," Viggo said during what Theron thought was a routine strategy meeting. "We need fresh approaches, digital solutions, cost-effective alternatives." Theron sat in the conference room, watching this man he'd personally trained, now questioning everything he'd built. The irony wasn't lost on him. Viggo had learned client management from Theron himself, had shadowed him during crucial negotiations, had benefited from Theron's years of industry knowledge. But Viggo saw dollar signs where Theron saw relationships. He'd been analyzing departmental budgets, questioning travel expenses, suggesting that personal client meetings could be replaced with video calls. The writing was on the wall, but Theron hadn't expected it to happen so brutally. "Effective immediately, we're restructuring the marketing department," Viggo announced. "Your position is being eliminated." The words hit Theron like a physical blow. 14 years of dedication, of missed family dinners to close deals, of building something meaningful, reduced to a line item on a budget spreadsheet. Theron looked around the room at his team members, people he'd hired and trained. Their faces showed shock, but none of them spoke up. They couldn't risk their own positions by defending him. The silence was deafening. Security escorted Theron out that same afternoon. As he packed his personal belongings into a cardboard box, he thought about the relationships he'd built over the years. Clients who called him personally when they had problems, who trusted his judgment on major purchases, who'd become more than business contacts. Viggo's plan seemed simple on paper. Replace Theron's $120,000 salary with 2 junior marketers at $45,000 each. Modern efficiency, he called it. Digital communication would handle client relationships. Automated systems would manage accounts. The personal touch was expensive and unnecessary. What Viggo didn't understand was the difference between managing accounts and maintaining relationships. Theron had spent years learning his clients' businesses, understanding their challenges, being available when they needed support. These weren't transactions recorded in a CRM system. They were human connections built on trust and reliability. The first sign of trouble came within a week. Starlee Gimbrone, CEO of Heritage Construction, called the main office with an urgent issue. Her company's quarterly order needed modifications due to a project change, and she needed immediate approval to avoid delays. The junior marketer who answered her call asked her to submit a request through the online portal. "I've been working with Theron for 8 years, Starlee told the young employee. "When I call, things get handled immediately. I don't fill out forms." The junior marketer, following Viggo's new protocols, explained that all requests needed to go through proper channels for tracking and efficiency. Starlee hung up frustrated. She'd been generating over $2 million annually for Pinnacle Solutions, but suddenly she was being treated like a random caller. That afternoon, she contacted Theron directly on his personal phone. "What happened to you? This new system is ridiculous." Theron explained his situation professionally, without criticizing Pinnacle Solutions. But Starlee's frustration was clear. "Theron, I work with you, not with some company policy. If you're not there, I need to reconsider my vendor relationships." Over the next month, the pattern repeated itself. Client after client encountered Viggo's new, efficient system and found it lacking. Ronan Dulesky from Metropolitan Development called with a complex specification issue. Instead of getting immediate expert consultation, he was directed to an online knowledge base. Soren Fabregas, who'd been loyal to Pinnacle for 12 years, needed approval for a custom order modification. The new system required him to submit documentation, wait for review, and follow up through email chains. Previously, one phone call to Theron would have resolved everything in minutes. These weren't just procedural inconveniences. They were fundamental changes in how Pinnacle treated its most valuable clients. Long-term partners were suddenly being processed like first-time customers. Personal relationships were being replaced by transactional interactions. Vigo dismissed early complaints as adjustment periods. "Clients will adapt to our new efficiency standards," he told the remaining staff. "We can't afford to provide concierge service to every account." But the complaints weren't decreasing, they were escalating. Theron, meanwhile, had been approached by Sterling Innovations, Pinnacle's primary competitor. They'd been watching Pinnacle's internal changes and saw an opportunity. "We want someone who understands relationship-based business development," their CEO explained. "Your approach is exactly what our clients value." The offer was compelling. Senior Director of Client Relations, 40% salary increase, and authority to build a team focused on personal service rather than cost reduction. But more importantly, Sterling's philosophy aligned with Theron's beliefs about business relationships. When Theron accepted Sterling's offer, he didn't solicit any clients. He simply informed his former contacts of his new position, professionally and ethically. The response was immediate and overwhelming. "Finally," Starley Gimbrone said when he called, "Sterling just moved to the top of our vendor consideration list." Similar responses came from dozens of clients who'd grown frustrated with Pinnacle's new approach to customer service. Vigo's cost-cutting strategy was about to collide with the reality of client loyalty. Within 6 months, Pinnacle Solutions lost 60% of their major accounts. The junior marketers Vigo had hired were competent, but they couldn't stop clients from walking away. They had no history with these companies, no trust, no understanding of complex client needs. Sterling Innovations, meanwhile, experienced unprecedented growth. Theron's former clients weren't just switching vendors, they were specifically requesting to work with him again. The personal attention they'd missed at Pinnacle was exactly what Sterling provided. Vigo tried desperately to retain clients by offering discounts, but price wasn't the issue. Service quality was. When Ronan Dulesky needed emergency support during a critical project phase, Pinnacle's new system required him to submit a ticket and wait for assignment. Sterling's system meant calling Theron directly and getting immediate expert assistance. The financial impact was devastating. Pinnacle's revenue dropped by 70% in 9 months. The company that had once dominated their market segment was struggling to compete with more service-oriented competitors. Vigo's efficient restructuring had eliminated the very relationships that generated Pinnacle's revenue. His focus on cutting costs had ignored the value of client loyalty. The 2 junior marketers he'd hired couldn't replace years of trust and expertise, regardless of their technical skills. The board of directors finally intervened. An emergency meeting was called to address the company's decline. When they analyzed the timing of client departures, the pattern was unmistakable. The losses had begun immediately after Theron's termination and accelerated when clients discovered Pinnacle's new approach to customer service. Vigo was terminated within the hour. But the damage was already done. Pinnacle Solutions, once a market leader, had lost its competitive advantage. The relationships that had taken decades to build had been destroyed in months by someone who confused efficiency with effectiveness. Theron never gloated about Vigo's downfall. He was too busy helping his new clients at Sterling Innovations, providing the kind of personal attention and expert service that had made him successful in the first place. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply being excellent at what you do. especially when your former employer realizes too late what they've lost. Have you ever been undervalued at work only to watch your former employer struggle after your departure? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story of professional justice, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Hidden Hearth for more incredible tales of workplace karma and personal triumph.